Welcome to Divine Speech in African Traditionalism. I am your host, Augustine Ayinibisah Ayelah. First of all, I have to seek permission to speak. I rise before my father and my mother. I rise before my grandfather and grandmother, whom I call my ancestors. I rise before the deities, the land deities, the water deities, and the sky deities. I rise before the goddess Ma'at, the goddess who give me wisdom to conduct this interview with justice. Finally, I rise before the gods and the supreme being, Amen Ra, the one my tradition calls Na-Wene, to give me strength so that I can conduct this interview with wisdom in adherence to Africa's mystery system. With this prayer, I know I'm permitted to speak. Today we have a guest, a man from the great KwaZulu nation state of South Africa. In my introduction to African traditionalism, which was my first show, I made it clear that African traditionalism is as numerous as there are languages in Africa. I listed the numerous traditions from East Africa, South Africa, and West Africa, as well as the ancient Kemetic, Nubian, and Kushite mythologies. I am honored to have Mr. Sikhulu Shange today as my guest. I got to know Mr. Shange as the owner of the Record Shack in Harlem, New York. It was Mr. Shange's Record Shack that kept me exposed to the different music genres from East and South Africa. It is my delight to hear from my South African brother, Mr. Sikhulu Shange of the Zulu tradition. Brother Shange, welcome to Divine Speech.
Thank you, my brother. It's a pleasure to be with you.
Even though I made a brief introduction, please tell us a little bit about yourself and how you, after all these years in a foreign land, still adhere to your tradition, the Zulu tradition.
Well, one thing about our tradition as African people is our passport to the world. And if you are saying that you are from KwaZulu, you have to be able to speak Zulu and you have to adhere to the traditions, which are numerous. Mm-hmm. For instance, when there is a wedding, there is special ceremonies for that. Mm-hmm. And the wedding is not meant for just two people getting married.
Right.
It is two families getting married, those who are alive and those who are spiritual.
Okay.
So you are bringing together people to form an everlasting relationship in that type of a marriage. To crown it all, we make sure that the groom pays some form of a dowry,
okay,
which is a bond. We do not sell children in Africa.
Right.
You know, these are the things like, for instance, I thank you, family, for raising a wife for me. And now we are bonded together. Her family is my family, and so is my family is her family. So it is a creation of a bond so that we don't even have a word divorce in our traditional language.
Right.
It's always a bond for life.
Right.
And we don't even enunciate, until death do us apart. It comes automatically with what we do to bring these young people together. And when the young woman comes into the family, she humbles herself and grow up. As the time goes on, she gets familiar with the traditions of that particular family, because each family have certain ways they do certain things. Like, for instance, my family is Shange.
Right.
So the Shanges they are not a small clan. They are very, very big. They form the Zulu nation.
Right.
So, but they have their own ways, how, when the baby is born, what they do, and all these things. They come together in the mind of this young mother,
Right.
who is going to perpetuate the family.
Right.
So, in all of this, I'm bringing it up because, you see, there is two things in life which are very significant.
Right.
Is preserving what you have and perpetuating your tradition and your family. And all that is all tied into the family structure.
I don't want to go off track, but you know, Monday we're going to be celebrating the birthday of Martin Luther King Jr., who is now an ancestor. One of my mentors was Mr. Gil Noble, and your friend. We don't want to just go ahead with this interview without, you know, saying a short prayer, especially for Mr. Gil Noble as he's struggling for his life. So if there's anything you can say, you know, I'll appreciate it.
Well, Gil is a friend of mine. We have known each other before we even worked for ABC all these years.
Okay.
I knew him when he was working for WLIB, which was located at 310 Lenox Avenue in Harlem, and that's where we met. And I was struggling to adapt into the business life at that time.
Okay.
And it seems like I'm going to be fortunate enough at least to see him again, you know, and I'm elated by that, because my prayers have been with him through and through.
Okay.
He has been a tremendous warrior who never wavered, no matter what kind of storms came his way. He stood up, and he stood up for the communities, and he stood up for Africa.
Right.
And that is well appreciated. Africa has gone through a lot of storms with colonialism and all this, and he invited all the people, I mean, all the people he could put his hands on, to come on his show and talk about the struggle. He was instrumental in the struggle against apartheid in South Africa. So my brother is very dear to me, and I'm looking forward just to see him, even when he cannot talk back to me, but I just would like to see him and show him my love for him and the love for his family.
Thank you very much. What exactly is Zulu tradition?
Well, the Zulu tradition is a way of life of a people. It encompasses the religion. It encompasses, well, we don't call it religion, in the spirituality. And it encompasses our daily life.
Right.
We are guided by our spirituality. Our ancestors, we call on them on a daily basis to give us the guiding light and be there and appeal to the Supreme Being, which we call Umvelinqangi. That is the one who creates the universe.
Right.
So, and we have a lot of respect for our ancestors. And when we praise our ancestors, we literally don't go on our knees. We stand up and be proud,
Right.
and feel good about it, because you can feel it when you are communicating with your ancestors. Because, I mean, death is just another passage to another life.
Right.
You know, but in actuality, our ancestors look out for us, and sometimes they lead us where we could not physically lead ourselves. And they are always there to help us with our health and our being and our communication and our building families. They are there. And that's why in every sphere we have to remember them. We have to pour the libation for them. We have to be forever grateful, because if they didn't appeal to the supreme being, then we would be nowhere.
Brother Shange, whereas African derived belief systems like Santeria, Kandolome, Obia, Voodoo are in a state of impressive growth, colonialism and Western acculturation and conversions by Christianity and Islam has forced African traditionalism to decline on the continent. Why is that so?
Well, we as African people, we are in a state of conquest. And the people who are victimizing us are the very same people who use their own religions to wipe out what we have. And we are the original people who brought spirituality to everybody in the world. So in order for them to look like more supreme than we are, they have to denigrate everything about ourselves.
Right.
And we have to fight for that. And we have to uphold Africa wherever we go. And I have this in my mind, really, that all the African students who leave Africa to go to the diaspora and acquire knowledge, they ought to go through some kind of teaching.
Right.
They have to be taught that they are not empty vessels. They have their own culture, and they have to carry that into the other world and be there,
Right.
and represent Africa accordingly, especially on a spiritual level.
Right.
And we see the other people, they creep in to the African priest to talk to the African priest, because they know that the power lies with the African tradition. It lies with the people who are the creators. You cannot beat a person who brought the spirituality to you. And we, the African people, we brought the spirituality to everyone. And on top of that, the similarity from what I have learned is amazing. I could never be lost if I was in Ghana.
Right.
And then there is a spiritual prayer. I would fit right in.
We fit right in.
Because I don't know, maybe